Hey guys, it's Hollie here for PlayStation Access. I'm with Andy, who's the executive producer on Mafia III. We're old friends, so this is very exciting.
I know, it's been a while.
Hasn't it just? I followed you from Codemasters to Ubi, and now you're a Hangar 13.
Indeed.
Like, super serious position as well.
Yeah, well, yeah, we have some fun, but yeah, it's pretty tough work.
Now, instead of doing a normal interview, we thought we'd have a bit of fun. So right now, Jackson is playing. He's going to try and do cool things. I thought you could do like a bit of director's commentary, like point
Sure.
out some cool things, any interesting stories from development,
Yep.
and just give these guys a bit of an insight into what it's actually like to bring this world to life.
Yeah, actually, that's a really good starting phrase, actually, bringing the world to life. So we're here in the French Ward, which is one of the kind of districts at the heart of New Bourdeaux. Actually, building the city has been a real labor of love because it's such an iconic place. Obviously, it's based on New Orleans, where we're stood right now, and it just drips with history. So
Amazing.
kind of capturing that feel and that sense of time and place is really, really important for the franchise, and I think it's something that we've done pretty well with here. The other thing, actually, you were just in a car a second ago. The vehicles are really important.
Yeah, how did you guys do? Did you actually have to go and find the cars?
They're actually our own cars, but they're based on, or a number of them at least, are based on the kind of muscle car era of the late 60s. It was that brief window before, gas crises and oil price hikes and things where
So it's like, drive whatever you want.
Yeah, these really thirsty kind of beastmobiles were on the streets, so we tried to capture that as well. We're lucky that we had a great engine to begin with. We kind of stripped down and rebuilt the Mafia II engine for current gen platforms, and the racing physics and the car physics underpinning everything was super buttoned up anyway, so it was perfect for this. So the Hollywood action driving, when you kind of get up to speed in the city, is another big pillar of the game as well.
So when you're bringing the world to life, were you wandering around New Orleans with cameras, taking pictures? It's not a replica, is it? You've not rebuilt the world piece by piece.
No, it's more of an influence. Like the New Orleans has given us. We obviously wanted to make our variant of it, and here you're seeing the French Ward, which is the iconic kind of New Orleans visuals that you're seeing with the kind of wrought iron balconies and the narrow streets and things like that. But there's a lot more to it as well. There are lots of other districts. There's a huge downtown district. There are more industrial areas. There's the bayou at the south edge of the city, which is actually the largest individual district, which is this really cool swampy place full of alligators.
Jackson got chased by an alligator. It wasn't pretty. So when you're like Jackson Square, for example, like we were sat there yesterday and it's gorgeous, and that is pretty similar here for New Bordeaux. Yep. Do you have to get permission? That sounds daft. Do you have to ring a person in the city council?
We don't, because none of the actual locations are literal real-world locations. We get to have artistic license with it. So you'll see kind of familiar-looking things, but actually, if you go and then look at what you would consider real-world equivalents, they're actually very different. So it's more about this sort of sleight of hand and smoke and mirrors where we kind of evoke the feeling of a place without actually, taking it too literally, and it's good for us as developers as well because it lets us have artistic license. So
I was going to say, because you can imagine getting caught up in all of that, and then you're like, well, I just want to make a cool world.
Exactly, it's all time we can spend on building the world, and New Bordeaux is, for example, one big difference between New Bordeaux and New Orleans is New Bordeaux is not a flat city. There's actually a lot of steep gradients on the roads. There's some kind of off-road hilly areas at the back of the city around Frisco Fields and the Bayou, which are really kind of cool for driving around and that kind of stuff. So the artistic license that we get from it not literally being New Orleans is quite important.
Tell me something from the development, a nice little story, something just fun, like something, we hear about developers doing little things, hiding little things in the code to help them create a game. It always makes interesting stories.
Well, I'll tell you one thing actually, which Hayden will probably tell me off for. So we didn't originally have alligators in the game, although it was something that we thought we might have. And then for our launch at Gamescom last year, we produced a trailer. And in that trailer, there's a scene where an alligator actually takes a mafioso who Lincoln's just kind of taken to the swamp to finish him off. And it was at that moment coming back from Gamescom that I kind of got Hayden saying to me, so now obviously we have to have alligators in the game because we promised that to everybody, and I kind of kicked myself for not realizing that's what he tried to do. We had this idea of this sad three-legged dog as well at one point. I managed to kind of get rid of that, but then the alligators made it in. So. But I can't argue that it didn't make the game better, so I guess I shouldn't be too upset with him.
I do like this idea, though, that people are trying to sneak animals into the game, and you're like, oh, fine.
If I get it in a trailer, then I'll...
then I have to have it.
We actually also had an incident in the car park at work. We were walking through the car park and having this conversation about the three-legged dog, quite a heated debate. And then I kid you not, a three-legged dog walked across in front of us in the car park. It turned out that actually it belonged to one of our animators as well. So. But yeah, still, that wasn't justification for putting it in the game, though. Yeah.
I like that. It's like, we need to have this dog, and you're like, no, we don't. It's like, look, the dog has walked past, and and then there's the animator, like, trying to feed it and encourage it to cross your path.
But we didn't put it in a trailer and promise it to the world, so that was the important thing.
That's basically
Alligators,
it.
yes.
It's in a trailer, we've got to do it. Right. Do you want to tell everybody what Jackson is currently up to?
So he is currently damaging a racket. So every district in the city has 2 criminal rackets as part of this kind of wider criminal ecosystem. And in order to kind of trigger the guy that runs this racket to kind of come out into the open, you have to damage its earning potential. So Lincoln's basically disrupting the flow and the kind of the kind of undercurrent within this racket.
So you can't just go straight to the boss.
Exactly. Okay. Yeah. You have to kind of chip away at it. And so there are various open world objectives here. We're trying to. In this particular example, actually, there's like a racket where they're filming blue movies, and we're trying to find the locations of those shoots and actually disrupt them and take them down and destroy the equipment and stuff like that. So that's kind of like a nice way in which all of the open world stuff actually wraps up into the wider narrative. So every small thing that happens in the open world, even like the smallest thing happening in a back alley like you might see around here, is actually tied up into the story itself.
So there's loads of little bits that just sort of take place. I think we were just walking down one of the main streets, and then there was like a little jazz band playing, and people were having a little party. Have you sort of hidden these things sort of throughout the world?
It's actually, if you kind of take the time to look around, it's kind of everywhere. It's a very, very dense environment. You'll see that all of these back alleys and streets in the city are actually fleshed out, and there's stuff happening in a lot of places in the city. So like the jazz bands and the protests and things like that, they're all what we sort of, the development term for it is world interactions. There are points in the world where we want some environmental storytelling to occur, and we want to actually sell the fact that you're in this particular area or in this particular city.
Oh, come on now, Jackson.
So you see now he's actually, the game's recognised that he's in enemy territory, he's trespassing, he's not where he should be. And so, as you can see, we're using Intel View now to kind of work out where the enemies are in the environment. This is Lincoln's kind of tactical Vietnam training, so that he can work out, once he's had a line of sight of people, where they are in the environment.
What's Jackson going to do?
I think he's probably going to get knifey. Oh no, just a chokehold.
Well done, Jackson. That was...
shooty.
Yeah, I was going to say clean, but it wasn't, was it? So then this is part of the now,
so you'll see this
ruining
is
their funds.
Yeah, so he's setting fire to a load of film. So this is damaging the ability for this racket to actually function. You do enough of that, you'll see the damage ticking down at the top of the screen.
So you don't need to get the damage remaining down to 0 to lure out the boss.
No, you do actually, you need to bring it down to 0, but there are a bunch of different ways in which you can do it.
So they don't all add up to 0?
They don't all add up to 0, no. So you can kind of choose the objectives that you want to use to damage the racket, and then when you get it down to 0, then out comes the hideout boss.
And I take it then, there would be really difficult missions that are obviously worth more, or you can do some slightly simpler ones.
Some of the tougher stuff, the higher risk stuff, actually has a higher payoff.
That's quite cool.
So you do all of that, you damage the hideout, you take down that racket, and then when you've taken out both rackets within a given district, that actually lures out the capo character. So there are various members of Marcano's extended family who are the capos in the city, and by taking those guys out, you're unlocking the bigger narrative-based story missions where we really push the narrative forward.
The narrative in this one's actually been quite interesting because you guys have made a big change for Mafia.
Yeah.
So when Mafia 3 was announced, people really were shocked that it wasn't what they were expecting.
Yeah.
So for you guys, I guess the story's been so important, right? Because you've wanted to show people that you weren't just trying, you're not doing this for the sake of doing it. You've got a whole world that you want to try and get through.
Interesting character, interesting location, and a story that's worth telling that is not a story that someone else has already told a bunch of times. So I'm confident enough to say now, because we're at the end of development. I'm really proud of what the writing team has done with the story. I think we have a really exceptional narrative. I think the performances are great. I think we're seeing people playing the game not just here with press, but in our own internal testing, and actually just really falling in love with the characters and the story. So I'm actually really excited about that. Genuinely, so cool. I think it's going to be a real win for us.
All right, Jackson, you're going to set fire to these, and then we're going to leave that there. because you're really busy, and the PRs are ready to take you away to your next interview here at our
all day.
Beautiful Mafia 3 event. And it's so sunny outside. Well, thank you so much for chatting to us.
Thank you.
This has been nice. Jackson's done really well as well.
Yeah, he's chipping away at it.
You've made a beautiful video for us. Well done, Dave. There you go. He says thank you. Thank you so much for joining us, guys. You can stay tuned to our YouTube channel because there's loads more coming up. And I'm sure we'll have more videos on Mafia 3 as well.